Basically, operate all controls so the oil will have time to warm up and lubricate all the pumps and cylinders before the load is applied. This is critical in cold temperatures. When the engine is idled for long periods of time, make sure the idle speed is sufficient to keep the battery charges. Keep the crane engine at or near maximum governed speed during normal operations, especially when lifting a load. This provides maximum fuel economy, efficiency, safety, and power. Before shutting down a heavily worked engine, let it run without any load at part throttle for a few minutes to allow for cooling. When operating near excavations or buildings, make sure exhaust gases or fumes will not accumulate, causing an unhealthful condition. Of course, crane operators must know the location and use of all emergency shutdown switches and procedures. When operating the boom, never use more boom than necessary to get the job done. Always use the shortest boom possible. Electrical lines are always a hazard when working with cranes. Crane operators must constantly be aware of the location of all utility lines, pipelines, sewers, and underground obstructions, and always avoid these areas as much as possible. If necessary, physically mark these locations to prevent estimations or guesses. There are different distances crane operators must stay from power lines depending on your local, regional, or state laws. Be sure to know and follow these guidelines when operating any type of cranes. Generally, you must remain 10 feet from any line voltages up to 125,000 volts. From 125,001 to 250,000 volts, you must remain at least 15 feet away. Over 250,000 volts, you can get no closer to the power line than 25 feet. It's also recommended that another person on the ground serve as an observer to warn the crane operator when these limits may be exceeded. In the unlikely event that you do touch a power line that is energized, stay on the machine and try not to panic. Keep everyone away. If you can, move the crane off the wire. If you have to get off the machine while the crane is still touching the wire, don't step down. Jump off the machine. Jump off the machine and try to land as far away from the machine as possible without falling down. Keep your feet close together. The reason for jumping and keeping your feet together is to reduce electrical shock exposure in the event the ground surface is energized. If your feet are apart, the electrical potential between one foot to the other foot could cause electricity to flow through your body. After you've landed upright, continue to jump with your feet close together until you're far enough away from any potential electrical energy in the ground. Jumping with your feet close together is the safest method of avoiding a serious electrical shock under these circumstances. Always position the crane as close to the load as possible and in such a manner as to minimize the swing. Be sure there is adequate clearance for tail swing, especially if there are other people or vehicles nearby, and make sure the swing lock is disengaged before starting to operate the crane. On cranes equipped with outriggers, always use the outriggers, no matter the size or weight of the load to be lifted. The revolving portion of the superstructure of the crane must be dead level before making any lift. When determining the actual load, it's important to count the weight of all rigging equipment as part of the load. Never rely upon an estimate to figure the load weight. Use your load chart. Just because a crane is stable 1 minute doesn't mean that it will remain stable. There are many factors used in computing safe load limits, so always refer to the load chart and don't take chances. The hydraulic crane operator who waits for signs of tipping to warn of an overload condition will often bend the boom, exceed the pressure limits, or cause severe damage to the machine before any signs of tipping occur. Jerking loads or fast lifting or lowering can also cause machine damage and tipping. Crane capacities are quite complex and are based upon many factors such as the boom length, boom angle, and angle between the boom and pendants, as well as the actual weight of the load. Don't take chances. Don't forget the rigging equipment. They too have rated capacities based upon sling angles, strength of the rigging, weight of the load, and capacity of the tackle. All slings must be properly identified and must be protected from sharp corners or other hazards. Don't make lifts when loose equipment is not properly secured, and secure the unused portion of the sling legs. Never wrap a rope around a hook. Operators on the ground assisting with the lift must stand completely out of the way when the lift is started. Quite often, the load will shift when it is lifted off the ground. Naturally, never allow anyone to ride the load, and keep everyone from underneath a load that's raised. It's also important to keep the area around the crane completely clear of personnel. Know the weight of all loads before attempting to lift anything. Use your load indicator if you're not sure. When operating a truck crane, be sure the carrier transmission is placed in neutral. The rocking or tilting motion of the crane can be transmitted to the locked transmission, causing serious damage. There are many more operating rules, safety precautions, and additional information you need to know as a crane operator, but we can't list them all in this short program. The program has been presented to you to make you more aware of your responsibilities and to take safety very seriously. Crane accidents can occur quite easily, but they can also be prevented by trained, alert, and safety-conscious crane operators. If you take your job seriously, follow your company and crane manufacturer's recommendations, safety will be with you on the job. Taking shortcuts, not following the rules, and operating in an unsafe manner can create the environment for a serious injury. Operating a crane is a serious business. So is the safety of you, your family, and all the other employees on the job. Thank you.